Boston, March 18th, 1990. It is just after 1:20 in the morning. The city is quiet in that uneasy way only cities can be. Streetlights humming, wind sliding between brick buildings, the faint echo of traffic somewhere far off in the distance. Two men in police uniforms buzz the intercom at the side entrance of the museum. They say they're responding to a disturbance. They say they need to come inside. The guard hesitates. The museum's rules are clear. No one enters after hours. But it's St. Patrick's Day weekend. There's been drinking. There's been noise. The uniforms look legit enough. The door opens. Inside, the marble courtyard stands silent beneath its glass ceiling. The night air smells faintly of old wood and varnish. Paintings hang undisturbed in gilded frames. Rembrandt, Vermeer, Degas. History frozen. The quote-unquote officers are let in. Within minutes, the guards are handcuffed and duct-taped in the basement. For the next 81 minutes, the thieves wander the galleries. They don't smash and grab. They don't rush. They study. They cut. They select. When they leave, they carry with them 13 works of art, priceless, irreplaceable, and never recovered. In the Dutch room, empty frames still hang on the wall. And more than 30 years later, there they remain. History is more than just dates and names in dusty books. It's a shadow stretching across time, full of secrets, tragedies, and whispers that refuse to die. This is Morbid History with Thomas Gloom. The heist that history can't solve. On paper, the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum heist looks simple. Two men impersonate police officers. They trick their way inside. They restrain the guards. They steal the art. But simplicity can be deceptive. Because this wasn't just theft. It was the largest art heist in modern history, and one of the most brazen crimes ever committed on American soil. And more than 3 decades later, it remains unsolved. A museum built on obsession. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum was never meant to be ordinary. Founded by Boston socialite Isabella Stewart Gardner in 1903, the museum was designed as a living work of art. Gardner herself arranged the galleries. She curated the walls. She dictated the lighting and atmosphere. And in her will, she left a strange instruction. Nothing was to be moved. If any piece in the collection was permanently altered, removed, or rearranged, the entire museum's endowment would be forfeited. It was her way of ensuring permanence. But permanence, as history shows us, is fragile. The night everything changed. In the early hours of March 18, 1990, two men claiming to be Boston police officers rang the side door buzzer. Museum policy strictly prohibited admitting anyone after hours. The guard on duty broke the rules. That single decision would cost the museum and the world over $500 million in stolen art. The quote-unquote officers entered. They claimed they were responding to a disturbance call. Within minutes, they informed the guards they were under arrest for an outstanding warrant. The guards were led to the basement, handcuffed and duct taped. Then, the thieves began their work. Not just smash and grab. What makes this heist extraordinary is its restraint. The thieves did not empty entire galleries. They did not indiscriminately steal whatever glittered. Instead, they selected specific works. Among them, the Storm on the Sea of Galilee, the only known seascape by Rembrandt, A Lady and Gentleman in Black, The Concert, one of only 34 known Vermeer works in existence, Sketches by Degas, a Chinese bronze beaker, a Napoleonic finial from a flagpole. The thieves cut the canvases from their frames. They left the frames behind, empty. The act was surgical, yet also violent. Removing a painting from its frame isn't like lifting it off a nail. It requires cutting, rolling, handling centuries-old canvas like contraband. The theft wasn't just financial. It was destructive. 81 minutes of silence. The thieves remained inside the museum for 81 minutes. That's not panic. That's confidence. Security cameras captured grainy footage of the men moving through halls. But there were no alarms triggered, no immediate police response. By the time the morning staff arrived, the museum had been hollowed out, and the frames still hung in place. The value of what was taken. Today, the stolen works are valued at over $500 million, making it the most valuable art theft in history. But the number misses the point. You can't replace a Vermeer. You can't commission another Rembrandt. The works stolen were singular, pieces of cultural memory. They are not just missing, they are absent from humanity's shared inheritance. The suspects and theories. Over the decades, the FBI has chased countless leads. Early suspicion fell on Boston's organized crime circles. The theory? The art was stolen as leverage, to be used as bargaining chips in future criminal negotiations. Other theories suggest the thieves intended to sell the art on the black market, though high-profile works like these are virtually impossible to sell publicly. Some investigators believe the paintings may have been damaged or even destroyed. Others insist they are hidden in a private collection somewhere, rolled up in a tube, locked in a vault, or hanging in secret. In 2013, the FBI announced they had identified the thieves, 2 men with ties to New England organized crime. Both were dead. The art was not recovered, and no one was charged. Why the empty frames remain? In many museums, stolen works would be replaced with replicas. Not here. Because of Isabella Stewart Gardner's will, the museum cannot rearrange or alter the gallery layout. So the frames remain, hanging, empty. A visual reminder that something is missing. Visitors often say the emptiness is more haunting than the art itself would be. The absence becomes the exhibit. Crime meets brilliance. There is a temptation to admire the cleverness of the thieves, the disguise, the audacity, the calm. But brilliance is complicated. The theft required planning, patience, and confidence. It also required a willingness to damage and possibly doom irreplaceable art. It is one thing to steal money. It is another to steal memory. Violence without blood. No one died in the Gardner heist. No gunshots were fired. And yet, there is a kind of violence in cultural theft. Art is not mere decoration. It is testimony. It is history captured in pigment. When a masterpiece vanishes, we lose access to part of ourselves. The Gardner heist didn't spill blood, but it did leave a small hole in the tapestry of humanity. A mystery that lingers. More than 30 years later, the museum still offers a $10 million reward for information leading to the recovery of the art. Tips come in. None pan out. The frames remain. The walls remain. The silence remains. And somewhere, perhaps in a climate-controlled vault, perhaps in a damp basement, perhaps long destroyed, are 13 works of art that once hung in quiet splendor beneath a glass courtyard in Boston. Crime met brilliance that night, but history met something else. A void. Now, before we move on to the second main topic of this episode, I want to just take a little aside and highlight 5 other shorter stories of thievery and intrigue. Number 1. The Great Train Robbery. The Heist That Derailed a Nation. England, August 8, 1963. A Royal Mail train carrying cash from Glasgow to London is stopped in the dead of night. Not by accident, not by malfunction, by design. A gang of 15 men tampered with the railway signal system, forcing the train to halt at a rural bridge. Within minutes, they overwhelmed the crew and unloaded 120 mail bags filled with cash. £2.6 million. At the time, it was the largest robbery in British history. The thieves were organized, disciplined, and precise. They used inside knowledge of train schedules. They staged vehicles for escape. They hid out at a remote farmhouse. But perfection faltered. The gang lingered too long. They played Monopoly with real stolen money. They left fingerprints, and within weeks, arrests began. Some served long prison sentences. Others escaped briefly. One, Ronnie Biggs, became a fugitive folk hero, living in Brazil for decades before returning to the UK. The Great Train Robbery wasn't violent in the cinematic sense. No shootouts, no explosions. But it changed British law enforcement forever. Sentences became harsher. Public fascination grew. The gang hadn't just stolen cash. they'd stolen a piece of national confidence. Number 2. The French sewer robberies. Crime beneath the city. Paris has always had two worlds. The one above ground, lit, elegant, romantic, and the one below, damp, echoing, unseen. In the 1970s, thieves discovered that the Paris sewer system offered more than waste removal. It offered access. One of the most infamous cases involved criminals who navigated the underground tunnel network to break into a bank in 1976. For months, they studied the vault's floor plan. They entered through the sewers. They drilled through concrete from below. When the vault was finally breached, they looted hundreds of safety deposit boxes. No alarms triggered, no weapons fired. When the police finally opened the vault days later, they found a note written on the wall.
Without weapons, without hate, without violence.
It was audacious, almost poetic. But the money vanished, and the criminals disappeared back into the city's underbelly. A reminder that sometimes the most secure doors are weakest from below. Number 3. Nazi gold mysteries. Treasure lost to war. As World War II collapsed around them, Nazi officials moved vast amounts of stolen gold, art, and currency across Europe. Convoys vanished, trains disappeared, mines were sealed. One of the most enduring legends centers on the so-called Nazi gold train in Poland, rumored to be hidden in tunnels and loaded with stolen valuables. For decades, treasure hunters have searched forests and mountainsides with metal detectors and ground-penetrating radar. Each time, headlines erupt. Each time, nothing definitive is found. Other caches have been discovered. Gold bars melted from victims' possessions. Art looted from Jewish families. The Nazi gold mystery is different from a clean heist. It is theft, layered with genocide. And somewhere beneath Europe's soil may still lie stolen wealth. Not just currency, but the physical remains of lives erased. Some treasure stories feel adventurous. This one feels haunted. Number 4. D.B. Cooper, the man who fell into legend. November 24, 1971. A man calling himself Dan Cooper boards Northwest Orient Flight 305. He wears a suit, a tie, and dark sunglasses. Mid-flight, he hands a note to a flight attendant. He claims to have a bomb. Cooper demands $200,000 and 4 parachutes. The plane lands in Seattle. The ransom is delivered. The passengers are released. Then, the plane takes off again. Over the Pacific Northwest, in a rainstorm, Cooper opens the rear stairs of the aircraft and jumps into the night. He is never seen again. No confirmed body, no confirmed survival. In 1980, a young boy found $5,800 of the ransom money buried along a riverbank. The rest remains missing. Did Cooper survive? Did he die in the wilderness? Was he brilliant or simply desperate? Unlike other heists, This one offers no vault, no trial, no confession. Only sky and silence. Number 5. Hatton Garden. The Elderly Vault Breakers. London, 2015. A group of elderly men, most in their 60s and 70s, break into a safe deposit facility in the Hatton Garden district over Easter weekend. They drill through a thick concrete wall using industrial equipment. They rappel down an elevator shaft. They empty dozens of deposit boxes. The press dubbed them, quote, the Diamond Weezers. It would almost be funny, if not for the scale. An estimated 14 million pounds in jewels and cash were taken. The gang had decades of criminal experience. They exploited a holiday closure. They relied on old-school burglary skills rather than cutting-edge technology. Eventually, most were caught. What makes Hatton Garden remarkable isn't violence. It's audacity. Proof that brilliance doesn't age out. From trains to vaults, from sewers to skies, crime has always attracted those who believe they are smarter than the system. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they vanish into legend. But whether the prize is art, gold, or diamonds, one truth lingers. Brilliance leaves a mark, even when it leaves no trace. Greetings, dear listeners. Thomas Gloom here. I'm stopping by to share 2 brief things. 1, if you are enjoying this podcast, please consider sharing it with someone you know. And also, leave a review. Whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or somewhere else, leaving reviews helps to promote this podcast and get it before new potential listeners. Let's grow this thing together. Also, depending on where you listen, you might be able to leave comments on episodes. I would encourage you to do that. I'd love to hear from you, and I'm open to feedback. The second thing is that I have been active on TikTok. I'm posting 2 videos a day and plan to do so into the future, so search out Morbid History Pod. The profile image is the same as the podcast logo. Find me there. Back to the show. Antwerp Diamond Heist. The heist of the century. If the Gardner Museum heist was bold, the Antwerp Diamond Heist was clinical. No empty frames, no duct tape guards wandering galleries, no police uniforms. Just a vault, and the belief that it could not be breached. The most secure building in the world. Antwerp, Belgium. For centuries, it has been the diamond capital of the world. Roughly 80% of the world's uncut diamonds have passed through this city at some point. The trade district is dense, discreet, and fiercely protected. At the center of it all stood the Antwerp Diamond Center, a fortress of reinforced concrete and steel. Its vault was located 2 floors underground. To enter, one would have to bypass a 24-hour security detail, heat and motion detectors, magnetic field sensors, seismic detectors, infrared cameras, and a 100 million combination lock. The vault door itself weighed 3 tons. It was considered impenetrable. That word, impenetrable, has a way of tempting certain people. The man who waited. The mastermind was a quiet Italian thief named Leonardo Notar Bartolo. Unlike smash-and-grab criminals, Notar Bartolo specialized in patience. He rented an office inside the Antwerp Diamond Center under the guise of a legitimate diamond merchant. For over 2 years, he studied the building. He learned security patterns. He observed guard rotations. He tested alarms. He earned trust. He wasn't rushing. He was rehearsing. Eventually, he assembled a team, later dubbed, quote, the School of Turin. Each member skilled in different areas: electronics, surveillance, mechanical engineering. This wasn't chaos. It was choreography. The night of February 15th, 2003. The plan unfolded over a single weekend. The thieves entered the building using legitimate access. They disabled alarms methodically. The motion sensors? Neutralized with plastic bags and tape. The infrared detectors? Carefully avoided. The seismic sensors? Silenced. The magnetic field sensor on the vault door, designed to detect changes in the metal environment, was tricked using aluminum plates. Each step required precision. Any miscalculation would trigger a lockdown. But nothing sounded. Inside the vault. Once inside, the team faced 189 safety deposit boxes. They did not open all of them. They were selective. Some boxes were forced. Others were pried with professional tools. Diamonds spilled onto the floor like glass marbles. Cash, gold, jewelry, loose stones. The estimated value of what was taken ranges between $100 million and $500 million, depending on who you ask. The thieves worked for hours. They left before dawn. By the time the building reopened on Monday morning, the vault had been gutted. No alarms had been triggered. No guards had been harmed. And for a brief moment, it seemed like perfection. The fatal mistake. Every brilliant crime contains a flaw. For Notar Bartolo, it wasn't inside the vault. It was outside. After the heist, the team disposed of incriminating materials: tools, food wrappers, tape, gloves, in a wooded area outside the city. But they didn't destroy everything. A half-eaten salami sandwich was found among the debris. It carried DNA. Police traced the genetic material back to Leonardo Notar Bartolo. He was arrested within weeks. Several accomplices were also identified. But the diamonds? Gone. What was recovered and what wasn't? Authorities recovered only a fraction of the stolen goods. The vast majority, millions in diamonds, were never found. During his trial, Notar Bartolo was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He maintained that the true value of the theft was exaggerated, claiming it was closer to $20 million. Investigators disagreed. To this day, no one knows exactly how much was taken or where it ended up. Was it really the crime of the century? In interviews after his release, Notar Bartolo hinted that the heist was not what it appeared to be. He suggested it may have been an insurance scam, that some diamond dealers may have exaggerated their losses, or even cooperated. Authorities deny this, but the ambiguity remains, and ambiguity is fertile ground for legend. Crime without violence. Unlike many notorious heists, Antwerp involved no gunfire, no hostage standoffs, no bloodshed. And yet, the impact was seismic. Trust collapsed. The Diamond District, long considered invulnerable, had been humiliated. Security systems were overhauled, procedures rewritten, confidence shaken. It wasn't just a robbery. It was a demonstration. Brilliance, but not innocence. There is a certain admiration reserved for criminals who outthink systems. Notar Bartolo exploited complacency. He studied patience. He weaponized trust. But brilliance doesn't absolve harm. Millions in stolen property destabilized livelihoods. Insurance claims rippled across the industry. And the precedent that even the most secure vault can fall invited others to try. Crime, when executed well, looks clean. But in reality, it rarely is. The diamonds today. Some believe the stolen stones were broken down, recut, and reintroduced into the global market, untraceable once separated from their original forms. Others believe they sit hidden, waiting for a moment when selling them becomes possible. Unlike paintings, diamonds don't hang on walls. They disappear easily, which makes the Antwerp heist different from the Gardner theft. The art remains visibly absent. The diamonds may be everywhere. When security becomes theater. The Antwerp Diamond Center believed its vault was foolproof. Layers upon layers of protection. Technology, weight, complexity. But security is only as strong as human behavior. Notar Bartolo didn't break the system with force. He studied it. He learned its rhythms. He found the human seams between machines. And that may be the most unsettling part. The vault wasn't defeated by violence. It was defeated by observation. Crime meets brilliance. In the Gardner heist, thieves stole cultural memory. In Antwerp, thieves stole concentrated wealth. Both required nerve. Both required planning. But Antwerp feels colder, cleaner, almost surgical. It reminds us that crime doesn't always look chaotic. Sometimes it looks intelligent. And that may be more dangerous. The lingering question. When Leonardo Notar Bartolo walked out of prison, he carried a reputation. He had cracked one of the most secure vaults in the world. But whether he carried diamonds with him is another question entirely. Somewhere in the world, stones cut from that night may still sparkle, set into rings, necklaces, heirlooms, bought, sold, gifted. No one knowing their origin. The vault door still stands in Antwerp, 3 tons of steel, heavier than ever. But its myth has been shattered. Because once a fortress falls, it is never quite fortress again. There's something seductive about a great heist. We admire the planning, the nerve, the patience. We tell ourselves it's clever, almost cinematic. Two fake police officers walk into a museum and walk out with masterpieces. A quiet Italian studies a vault for years and cracks it without firing a shot. A man in a suit jumps into the night and becomes a sunglass-wearing ghost. We call it brilliance. But brilliance doesn't erase consequence. In Boston, empty frames still hang where Rembrandts once lived. In Antwerp, diamonds may still sparkle on fingers that have no idea where they came from. In forests and rivers and forgotten tunnels, money and gold and art may still be buried, silent evidence of someone else's ambition. Heists don't just steal objects, they steal certainty. They remind us that even the most secure system has a seam. Even the strongest vault has a weakness. Even permanence can vanish overnight. And maybe that's what unsettles us most. Not that crime exists, but that sometimes it works. This has been Morbid History. I'm your host, Thomas Gloom. And if this episode made you consider what happens when brilliance meets the darker edges of human ambition, leave a review and follow me on Instagram and TikTok for more tales from the shadows of our past at Morbid History Pod. As always, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, history can be a lot of things, including morbid. What are they gonna steal next? Hopefully it's nothing for me.